Good Friday, or God's Friday. Welcome to Finding God in the Times of COVID. April the 1st. Today's reflection is from Martin Smith's A Season for the Spirit. Numbered with the transgressors. I have a baptism with which to be baptized, and what stress I am under until it is completed. Jesus says in Luke 12:50. Jesus faced the prospect of his arrest and execution with a mixture of dread and of agonizing yearning. In his baptism in the Jordan, he had bound himself to suffering and struggling humanity, but only in his death could he show the magnitude of his identification with us in our alienation. Only by dying numbered with the transgressors as a disgraced criminal on a slave's cross could he show that his embrace of us had no limits and no exceptions. He had to abandon, in the end, every shred of credibility as a holy wonder worker in the destruction of his movement, and by publicly submitting to torture that would lead him into the annihilating darkness of the godless. My God, why have you forsaken me? He had asked James and John, "Are you able to drink the cup that I drink, or be baptized with the baptism that I am baptized with?" Then he promised them they would. He asks the same question of us. If we allow his cross to work its way with us, there is a baptism of fire that we have to undergo, a baptism into solidarity with sinners. We build up our false selves on the principle that we are right and good enough. Evil lies outside us, incarnated in them. Villains and criminals, whores and vixens, rebels and addicts. To abandon this principle is tantamount to consenting to the dismantling of the very structure of ourselves. If I and them should give way to we, then a new self with a new center would have to be found. The cross kills the old self that was based on the fiction that the others are the guilty. Every Good Friday we return to the foot of the cross to re-expose ourselves to the devastating and glorious absurdity that Paul could only express in these bizarre words. For our sake, God made him to be sin who knew no sin. Christ brought his sinlessness into identification with our sin. Words fail us, but as we gaze on the incandescent mystery, it acts like radiation therapy, searching out and burning away those newly formed places within ourselves where the cancerous lie that the others are the needy and the guilty has reestablished itself since last treatment. We are all one in our guilt. We are all one in our need. We are all one in the embrace of a suffering God. We are all one as heirs of the gift of a new self offered in the resurrection. He was numbered with the transgressors, crucified between thieves. We will not find him in our hearts except in the same company. For each Good Friday, to be good, the Spirit must take us by the hand and reestablish our contact with that inmost core of recalcitrant evil, enmity, the impotence where we are sisters and brothers of the most depraved and lost. That is where Christ is, clasping them with his pierced hands. Today, though my time should be mostly spent lost in wonder, love, and praise, I need to clear a little space to look back over the last year and check what it has meant for me to take up my cross and follow him. Taking up the cross means leaving the company of the good for the company of the condemned. Why else were the Romans victims made to carry the crossbar of their instruments of torture, except to advertise their criminality to the populace. I take up the cross and follow Jesus wherever I acknowledge my oneness with the guilty, wherever I stop pretending that they are an alien class. I put the cross down and hide among the moral crowd whenever I gloat over the sins of others, whenever I thank God that I am not like other people, even when I say, "There, but for the grace of God go I," whenever I resort to all the tools of projection to distance myself from the chaotic and the bad. The extent to which I've taken up the cross will be shown by the frequency and intensity of my prayers for sinners, enemies, and the lost as my brothers and sisters, my own flesh, which means that I have hardly begun to take up my cross. In prayer, I must practice being numbered among the transgressors, and must start to care for this company, where I belong. I remind myself of the wonderful exemplar of the messy passion of true intercession in Flannery O'Connor's short story Greenleaf. Mrs. Greenleaf is the slatternly tenant of the prim Mrs. May, who disapproves of her bitterly because she neglects her house in order to practice her prayer healing. She cut all the morbid stories out of the newspaper, the accounts of women who had been raped and criminals who had escaped and children who had been burned and train wrecks and plane crashes and the divorces of movie stars. She took those to the woods and dug a hole and buried them, and then she fell on the ground over them. She groaned, "Jesus, Jesus." Her legs and arms spread out as if she were trying to wrap them round all the earth. I take as my examples, again, those monks among George Bernanos, the great Catholic novelist, was once staying when he was agonized by a newspaper account of the arrest of a mass murderer. He was driven to write to the man's lawyer to express to her the feelings that had rent his heart to the point of agony. And beyond agony, he wrote, because it is heart-rending, in that there is in it a hope that one can scarcely conceive of, the solidarity of all people in Christ. As far as I'm concerned, I have nothing much to offer him. I would like him to be able to understand that there are monks, lonely like him, who do better than just pity him, but who will from now on take over, as brothers should, part of his appalling burden. This Good Friday prayer. Spirit of Christ, the beloved disciple saw in the pouring out of water with the blood from Jesus' pierced side your outpouring. You are the spirit of self-giving love. You are the spirit of reconciliation. You are the spirit who binds us in one. You come to us from the smitten rock of Christ. Only if you pour anew from him within my heart will this Good Friday be good for me, and for those whom I have the power to touch while I live. Because only by a fresh drinking in of your power will I really grasp the solidarity of all in him, and begin to play my part once more of pouring out his compassion over the needy, the desperate, the separated, the hardened, the hopeless, the unforgiven, and all those living lives of quiet desperation. Blessings on your Good Friday.